Hi, Dan Thies back again. This is week 1 of Link Liberation 3, Defining Your Persona. This is video number 3, Your Audience and Persona. In this video, we'll talk about your audience, how to identify the people that you want to talk to, and how you can define the audience by the topics that you speak about. We'll talk about your persona and how you define your persona, the differences between first-party and third-party personas, and the issues around using your real name or a pen name. Finally, we'll talk about mapping and cloning and what we call the Frankenstein method for creating personas based on the work that others have already done. To help you understand the concepts of audience and persona, try to think about this more like a conversation that you might have at a dinner party. Out on the patio, you might have some people talking about sports. In the kitchen, you might have some people talking about cooking. You might have people in the living room talking about business. In the den, talking about politics. Or on the other patio, talking about parenting or whatever it might be, depending on who's there and what those people are interested in. The fact is, though, that people do tend to gather around with other people around conversations about a topic that they have a mutual interest in. Your persona is simply one of the people in that conversation who is contributing interesting stories, sharing what they know about the topic. They might be sometimes agreeing, disagreeing, and high-fiving people who are making good points and just laughing at the jokes that go on in the conversation. Now, some of the conversations that take place are going to be highly relevant to your business, and other conversations that you'll find online are less relevant. Your audience is the other people in the conversation. So what we're trying to figure out here is, who are these people? Well, the internet makes conversations global, and the internet makes small niches seem big. And at a party, it might be hard to find people who want to talk about certain niche topics. Are there people at your party that want to talk about basket weaving with you? Well, probably not. And if you keep talking about that, well, people will probably walk away and find someone who's talking about sports. But online, even smaller topics, even more narrowly defined topics, you can often find very robust conversations with a whole lot of people in these venues that we'll be talking about in this course. Something that only 1 in a million people are interested in means that there are thousands of people on the internet who are interested in it. To start defining your audience, let's start with what we call a customer avatar, and there will be some additional material on this in the practice module that's to come. If your business sells to small business owners, home businesses, parents, ferret lovers, identify the key segments of your target market, the people that you're actually trying to sell to, and look for topics that match their interests. Depending on the market, there may be multiple segments that you sell to. So, for example, our SEO training is used by many different people. We have consultants who use it both to help them with their clients and also to learn how to grow their business. We have web designers who are interested in adding value services to their clients and helping their clients get better results. We have entrepreneurs, business owners who are trying to get those results themselves. We have in-house marketing people at larger companies or even smaller ones. We have nonprofits, whether they're the in-house people or the people behind the nonprofit who are running it. It depends on how many people are in there, how big the organization is. And then there are information marketers out there who are eagerly awaiting each video of this so that they can figure out how to turn it into some kind of a knockoff product. I wish them luck. The better you define your customer avatars, the more you'll know about what they're interested in. So for each segment that you've identified, try to think of some topics, things that they might be interested in aside from just buying stuff from you. It's easier to work on one segment at a time as you go through the process in Link Liberation. So try to figure out which of the topics that you've identified indicate a stronger buying interest. Perhaps you sell stereo speakers online. Well, people who are talking about how to get the most out of their sound system are going to be probably better buying prospects than people who are just talking about the latest Justin Bieber music, if you want to call it music. You'd also like to find, and we'll go through some things that will help you find out which topics have more conversations going on and more people involved in those conversations. You can also work back and figure out what the topics are that people are talking about a lot of the time from what's already going on in social media. Particularly if your customers are following you on Twitter in any kind of numbers, even if they're only following your business news announcements that you're putting out on Twitter. What else are they talking about? You can find this out. There are easy ways to do it. You can put them into a list on Twitter and you can actually pull out what they're interested in. I'll show you how to do that with a list on Twitter in, I think, the next video. Now, if your competitors are on Twitter, you can do the same thing. If they have people following them on Twitter, you can figure out what those people are talking about. And you can look at who else are they following. what personas out there already hold their interest. And if those personas have websites, you can actually find those websites and use those as potential sources of stories. But we'll get to that in a bit. The best tool right now, the one that I like using the most, is called Klout. That's Klout.com. And Klout is kind of stupid, but it's also the most awesome stupid thing that's ever been invented. Now, the first time you get on Klout, you do need to have a Facebook or a Twitter account that you can sign in with, and that will link your Facebook or Twitter account to Klout. Don't worry about what your Klout score is. It really doesn't matter. But within Klout, you can use the search box at the top of the page to search for topics. Here's a search for parenting, and we can see what Klout shows us. First, we have a list of people who have a high Klout score, which means that they're somehow influential in social media around the topic of parenting. The red arrow points at their name and links to their social profiles. And on the right, there's a red circle there where you can see that they have topics that these people are known for. And so this can help you find other topics that you can look at as you dig deeper into researching your market in Klout. Over on the left, in addition to seeing who are the influencers around a topic when you search, you can also look for the Topics tab and look at other topics that are related to the topic. So here are some results for marketing, and you can see that the related topics for marketing are internet marketing, affiliate marketing, search engine marketing, email marketing, social marketing, and there are several more beyond that. This also can help you find more topics and therefore more people. And people are what social media is all about. Now, you can't do a 9-word search on Klout. So think of single 1 or 2 word topics that you can use. And once you find one that you hit that has interesting results, that has people on it that are influencers, that will lead you to the other topics that Klout is tracking. As you find influencers on Klout, you can also find a lot of other things. You can find out who they influence. These are people that you might want to be following on Twitter, and we'll be coming back to that later. And who are their influencers? That is to say, who are the people that they're paying attention to and picking stories up from? And of course, within an individual profile, you'll also find more topics that that person is known for, and also topics that their influencers and the people that they influence, the followers, the ones that are the meaty people that you want in your audience, who are sharing other people's stories, what topics those people are interested in. So let's shift gears for a minute and talk about the persona that you need to create. Well, to create an online persona, and again, you can use your real name and your own information here, that's not a problem. But a persona definitely needs a name, and it does have to at least appear to be a real person's name. For many, many reasons that we'll get to throughout the course, you can't call yourself the baby shoe monkey or the happy clown, okay? You need to use a real person's name. You're going to need a face because profiles that don't have faces on them don't get nearly as much interest from the people that are out there because they want to be there to talk to other people. Now, it can be a cartoon picture. It can be a picture of you with a watercolor filter applied to it or something like that in Photoshop. It doesn't have to be your high school yearbook picture. You're going to need a profile bio that talks about why you're doing it, your motivation, and what kind of topics you're going to talk about. So, follow me to get more about small business growth, whatever your topic might be. Then as you go through, you can fill in a Twitter handle and all that kind of stuff. Now, you'd like to use the same handle on Twitter that you use on forums and other places where you have a handle similar to what they use on Twitter. We'll talk about using pen names in a moment. But first, let's talk about another way to figure out what topics you're going to talk about and to sort of compose your persona. I call this the Frankenstein method. All those people that you find on Klout, they're real people or they're not real people. They might be pen names for all we know, but they're personas. And because they're on Klout, because they have a high Klout score, unless they're doing crazy stuff to fake it, and some of them may be, they already have an audience. There are topics that they're talking about and all of the stuff that you need to figure out what your persona is going to be like. So you could take a piece from this person, another piece from that person, and sort of create a unique persona for yourself, all by looking at what topics these other people are talking about and the position that they take in the conversation. You can take all of those interesting people that you might want to sort of build your Frankenstein monster of a persona out of, take them into a list on Twitter. Twitter lets you build these things called lists, and okay, I'll tell you how we're going to use that later in just a couple of videos. But there's a lot that you can do with these people that you find that are influencers on your topics. Now, this isn't copying someone or just retweeting everything they tweet or cloning them. That's dumb. Don't do that. That's what spam bots do. Think of these people as your influencers, just as you want to become the influencer to members of your audience. Now, in previous versions of Link Liberation, we've had a lot more discussion about the use of first-party and third-party personas, but I've got to be honest with you. Almost everyone ends up using a first-party persona, and there are so many issues with using a third-party persona that I am barely going to talk about it here in Link Liberation 3. A first-party persona is one that is openly associated with the business or brand. It doesn't have to be the business owner or the marketing director. And there are many ways that we do this, and we'll talk more about this as we go through the course and in the practice module to come. But the helpful team member is someone who works for your company. They might be a customer support person, they might be a marketing person, they might be the CEO or whatever. They might be a hired writer, someone who is openly associated with your brand because they're writing content for your business. It is the easiest and safest thing to do to simply use a first-party persona where they're openly associated with your business or brand. There is absolutely no deception going on. Your hat here remains perfectly white. It's easiest, it's safest, and it's also what we teach. A third-party persona would be a persona who is not openly associated with your brand, and as soon as you do this, your hat just turned at least a little bit gray. In many ways, this is legally questionable. In fact, there are ways that you can definitely commit crimes by using third-party persona. If you have shills who are talking about how awesome your products are, and you don't have any disclosure that they actually work for you, or if you use sock puppets to try to drive conversation or to stifle criticism on the internet, you might very well be committing crimes and certainly have civil liability for doing that. One of many reasons why we don't teach this stuff. Sometimes personas, third-party personas, and we have seen them used effectively to sort of stir up conversation. Even that, to me, is a little bit questionable, and so again, we simply avoid the topic because it is not necessary to do it, and what we're teaching you here works a lot better than anything I've ever seen anyone do with a third-party persona. And let's talk for just a minute about the use of a pen name. This is something that people struggle with all the time, and we'll get lots and lots of questions about it, but here's the deal. Yes, I know that Google and Facebook both have policies that require you to use your real name. I've also seen Google Plus profiles for people's dogs, cats, and everything else, and Facebook profiles for the same. Both Google and Facebook do allow you to use a, quote, recognized or established pen name, but, okay, what does that mean? These policies are deliberately vague. They're written so that they can shut you down and close down your account anytime they want to for any reason and give themselves an excuse to do it. Now, pen names are not some new invention. Writers have been using pen names forever. There are people who write science fiction pretty well who also write romance novels to pay the bills, and they don't use the same name when they do it. How do you get an established pen name without using it? So you can establish your pen name by using it. Will this always work? If Google decides to shut you down, will you be able to defend yourself? Will you be able to produce a driver's license that has your pen name on it? No, you will not. And you will probably lose that fight if it comes to it. But what's going to make it come to that fight? Well, if you make them look stupid. So don't make Google look stupid. Don't make Facebook look stupid. Don't spam. Don't do abusive things. Don't give them a reason to care about who's behind your account. And you probably won't have a problem. But again, this is something that we cannot change their policies or make the world any different than it is. All we can tell you is that sometimes I use pen names and sometimes I use my real name depending on what the topic is. So let's exercise ourselves a bit to make sure that we remember and understand what we've gone through here. Take a little bit of time with your notepad to list your important audience segments out. Try and make little baby customer avatars for them. Explore what the good topics might be for each of those segments and find a few influencers and topics that you could use on Clout. There are some important decisions that you're going to need to make before you move forward with actually implementing a persona. And again, I hope you don't jump into that until we get at least to the practice module. But you've got to figure out what are the topics. What are we going to be talking about? What's the motivation of the persona? Who are they? Why are they doing it? What's their story? And are we going to use a person's real name or a pen name? Now, I can tell you, if you use a person's real name and they quit working for your company, then you can keep using that same name as a pen name for someone else, or you're kind of stuck. No decision you make here is final. We're just going through the exercise to make sure that you understand that you're really learning as much as you can. The decisions will be final, of course, once you start implementing. So take the time to think about these things, do these little bitty exercises so that when it's time to actually make firm final decisions and then start taking action, you will be ready to go and have a much higher level of confidence in what you're doing. All right, well, give yourself a hand. You're halfway through the first week's training. Coming up, we'll talk about topics and stories, and that's practically a continuation of this one. Then we'll talk about venues and stacking, which is some stuff that folks who are already a little bit more advanced with this will actually be able to put into action using the social profiles that they already have. And for the rest of us, it'll at least be a way that we can sort of plan for the future and understand which topics are going to work best in the environment that we're heading into.